We have Georgia Republican Congressman Buddy Carter on the phone right now. And Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. I want you to comment on President Carter's what he meant in his legacy for Georgia politics. We've been talking so much about the national legacy that he has and the international one, but he's the first and only president elected from the Peach State, was the governor of Georgia. What does this mean for Georgia?
Well, it meant a lot. Obviously, the first president to be from Georgia, and he was our former governor. We were all very proud of Jimmy Carter and the work that he did. And he obviously had a very difficult presidency, but particularly the work he did after he left the White House. That made everyone in this state very, very proud. Obviously, he was very active, he and his wife Rosalind, and I had the honor of serving with his grandson, Jason, in the Georgia State Senate, and recently I've gotten to know another one of his grandsons, Josh, through my having worked with honoring Rosalind Carter and her work in mental health. And Josh and I have become friends, and it's just a fine family and one that all Georgians are very proud of.
And he remained extremely active in the state, not only traveling to places like Haiti and North Korea, but really becoming a fixture in the state after his presidency, right?
Well, he did. And, of course, the Carter Center is in Atlanta and does outstanding work. The work that center has done with elections, national elections all across the world, and the input that they've had in that it has had a lasting legacy and made of all of us proud here in the state of Georgia. So, we may have differed in the way that we felt like we should get to a certain point, but we certainly always respected the fact that he was a man of good character and certainly someone who came along at the right time. If you'll remember, it was post-Watergate, and I think America was looking for someone who was honest and pure, and he was that, and we all respected that.
You look at the period of national politics back then, as you mentioned it, in 1976 when he was elected. It was just a couple of years after the Watergate scandal. What did his election mean for the country at a time that was looking to, move on to some pretty toxic politics?
Well, and there were some pretty toxic politics, especially after that. But when he came in, again, he was he was someone of great faith, someone who didn't hide that faith. In fact, who was proud to talk about that faith. I can remember being at church, and I can remember the preacher saying, "Look, if the president of the United States has time to prepare a Sunday school lesson, none of us have an excuse for not teaching Sunday school." And I remember thinking, "Wow, yeah, the president of the United States is teaching Sunday school. We ought to, none of us have an excuse to say that we don't have time to do something like that." But Georgia's the Bible Belt, and it still is, and that was very important.
Anita Vogel, our colleague here, pointed out just over email as we've been chatting over this, is that he and Rosalind used to read the Bible in Spanish to one another to try to work on their Spanish skills, as they had done so much work in Spanish-speaking countries. What better way for the Carters to master their Spanish skills than by reading the Bible? Talk about the president's faith and how much that guided him and how much that does guide many politicians.
Well, and it does. It does guide a lot of politicians, more so than I think is given credit for. We have numerous Bible studies in Congress now, and everyone, obviously the reputation of Congress I don't think is the best in the world right now, but at the same time, there are, people ask me all the time, what's the most surprising thing you found being a member of Congress? And the most surprising thing is also the most satisfying thing, and that is there are a lot of good people in Congress. There are a lot of good people up there who are believers and who are up there for the right reason to move this country forward. And Jimmy Carter was up there for the right reasons. Now, very difficult times that he faced, and we're still facing some of those difficulties now. That he faced, and certainly it challenges all of us. But being a man of faith, I think he showed us all and set a great example. I remember the book he wrote afterwards was Keeping Faith, and I enjoyed that book very much.
You know, this is a time that is particularly divisive in our politics in this country. It was 6 years ago that the country paid its final respects to George H.W. Bush, a one-term Republican. Now it will do so to President Jimmy Carter, a Democrat. What does it say that our politics can come together, that there are good people, presidents known as a legacy of, well, you might disagree with the way that they had their policy in office, but you can still get together? How do we get to a spot where we can have conversations, Democrats, Republicans, independents, and do so without vilifying the other side personally?
Well, I think that has to come from within. I think it has to come from within all of us. How hypocritical is it that we go to church on Sunday and then on Monday we're fighting like cats and dogs? I mean, look, I'm from South Georgia. I've lived here all my life, and this is truly the Bible Belt. We go to church down here, and truly it is important to us. But at the same time, we gotta think about the way we treat each other, and particularly in Washington. I think it's very difficult. It's not as if it's just black and white. I mean, there are a lot of gray areas there, and sometimes the media doesn't portray that the way that I would hope that they would. I wrote an article recently about sleeping in my office and about using the members' gym and how bipartisan it is, and it is very bipartisan, and we do a lot of work together in Congress, but it doesn't get the kind of coverage that obviously the wedge issues get.
Congressman Buddy Carter of Georgia, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Your perspective on President Jimmy Carter, who's died at 100. Thank you.
Thank you.